The message that has been sent to you, chosen one, has not arrived by chance, but rather by the divine choreography of events. There is no such thing as a spiritual accident. Rather, there are only sacred alignments. You have been brought here because heaven sees you putting back together what other people have left behind. You are not merely passing through this time. Rather, you are standing at the threshold of a legacy you will leave behind. Your presence is bringing back something that has been lost for a long time. Something sacred is emerging from within you at this very moment. In addition to being a communication, this is a confirmation from the Almighty. You are the inheritance that generations of your ancestors have been anticipating. From the minute you stepped foot in this realm, the atmosphere underwent a transformation. You did not simply inherit DNA, rather, you acquired a divine mission by inheritance. To become the voice, the light, and the restorer, your soul was guided through centuries of suffering, survival, and quiet. You have pondered the reasons behind the weight of your path, the reasons why you were the one who carried the emotional and spiritual burdens that others chose to overlook. This is due to the fact that the breach in the bloodline did not finish with them. Rather, it was waiting for you to come along. Not only do you rise up for yourself, but you also rise up for everyone who is related to you. You are the divine seed of change, the one who breaks curses, the one who rewrites blueprints. It is important that we take a moment of silence before we proceed further into this message. This is not just another video. It is a spiritual transmission that is meant to awaken every chosen one who is on the path of legacy and restoration. If you have not already done so, please like, share, and subscribe to this, because it is not just another video. In the event that this word is already igniting something deep within your spirit, please leave a remark with the number 55. The number in question is not arbitrary. Rather, it represents a supernatural code or a signal from heaven. It conveys to the universe that you are willing to accomplish the work that your ancestors were unable to do, and that you are in harmony with your duty. You can expect more knowledge to unfold if you are one of the few people who are truly called to remain until the end. Layers of revelation and streams of spiritual clarity will be given to you, as well as to the generations that are connected to your recovery. It is important to keep in mind that wisdom is revealed in layers. In order to bring your mind, body, and spirit into alignment with the realities that are being given, you should revisit this message as often as you feel is necessary. You will discover something even more potent, something heavenly that may have been concealed in the past, each time you come back to this place. For the sake of reawakening what has been latent inside you, let us delve deeply into your sacred task, which has been split down into 7 magnificent chapters. This heaviness, this grief, and this tension that existed in the air even when no one spoke a word was something that you could sense even before you had the words to express it. Through stares, silence, and inherited wounds, it was as if you were carrying a burden that you had never decided to lighten. It was a burden that was transferred to you in silence. You were not informed of what it was, nor were you given any warnings about it. Nonetheless, your spirit immediately recognized it. You had a feeling that something was wrong, even when you were a child. You had a feeling that your family was carrying feelings of anguish that went deeper than the surface issues. You were able to sense it in your bones when you entered a space that was filled with stories that were not being told. You were not the only one carrying something. It was something that was spiritual, generational, and ancestral in nature. In addition to being born into a family, you were also sent into a lineage, which is a bloodline that is full of warriors, survivors, the broken, the quiet, and the embarrassed. Individuals went through more than they admitted, handed down traditions without questioning the price, and loved to the best of their abilities, but they never learned how to heal. You experienced the impacts in your mind, emotions, and body, including the chronic weariness that sleep does not alleviate, the anxiety that cannot be explained, the pressure to be everything for everyone, the guilt for wanting to walk away, and the dread of becoming what you are trying to break and becoming. You were the first person who was strong enough to bear this unseen weight into metamorphosis, and it was not because you were weak that it found you. Heaven chose you because it was aware of the qualities that were buried deep inside your DNA. These qualities include unwavering resiliency, spiritual intelligence, the bravery to confront what others rejected, the sensitivity to feel what others dulled, and the sacred fury that arises when you witness the cycle once again attempting to replicate itself. You're here for a reason. Hit subscribe now and step into your destiny. Big things are coming. The person who arrives in the midst of generational disaster with clarity in their voice and compassion in their heart is the healer. You are never just the fixer. You are the healer. The reason you question everything is not because you are rebellious, but because you have a deep respect for the truth. You acknowledge the suffering and make the conscious decision to feel it rather than run away from it. You look at dysfunction and say, "No more." You witness addiction and declare, "It ends with me." Even though no one understands, even though you are confronted with resistance, and even when the very people you are trying to save push you away, you choose to speak up when you hear quiet. The process of restoration is not spectacular. Rather, it is solitary, hard, and holy. You bear the hardships that others have never acknowledged, but at the same time, you bear the blessings that others have never even dared to dream of. More than that, you were chosen to establish something new, a new standard, a new legacy, a new frequency of love, truth, and alignment. You were chosen to break cycles, but more than that, you were chosen to build one. In this context, repairing the past is not the only goal. Rewriting the future is also very important. Heaven is aware of every single instance in which you choose to heal rather than hide, every single time you prevent an old reaction from occurring, and every single tear that you shed in private while attempting to keep it together. Not only are you breaking chains, but you are also unlocking gates. These gates are gates to freedom, gates to serenity, and gates to generational gifts that were not able to flow until you have arrived. The weight of the burden did not begin with you, but by the mercy of God, it will be lifted off of your shoulders. Because of the way you think, the way you feel, the things you question, and the things you refuse to accept, you have always been aware that you are not the same as what other people are. Beginning at a young age, you were conscious not only of the world that was all around you, but also of the world that existed within you. While some chose to dismiss stress, you were able to feel it. While others laughed through pain, you sat with it. And while others blindly accepted rules without questioning them, you always questioned why they were being obeyed. The intention behind your actions was not to be difficult. Rather, you were attempting to be genuine. Even if you did not appreciate it at the time, your spirit was tuned to a higher reality. The purpose of your soul's presence was never to conform. Rather, it was intended to transform. You were able to sense a change in the atmosphere of a room even before anyone spoke. You cried without knowing why, and then you realized that the tears were coming from the suffering of another person. You had the ability to detect when others were concealing something, to recognize when love was not genuine, and to pick up on topics that no one intended to discuss. Your sensitivity is precious, and your emotional depth is a spiritual gift. However, they called you too much, which means that you are too emotional, too sensitive, and too passionate. Heaven separated you from the rest of the world. Your family attempted to quiet you, and the world itself attempted to label you. Having a purpose that cannot be achieved by a typical person is the reason you were born with a unique destiny. In order to heal more, you needed to feel more. You needed to question more in order to fix what was broken. And you needed to stand out in order to lead others out of darkness. Because you were not designed to fit in, you were designed to reconstruct. This is the reason why you will never be able to fit in. They referred to you as the black sheep. But on a spiritual level, you are the golden thread, the divine spark that has been concealed in the family line, and you are ready to surface and bring about a change in the atmosphere. If your light challenged everything that sought to keep your bloodline trapped in shadows, the enemy will always want to silence individuals who have divine missions. This can take the form of early battles, misunderstandings, rejections, or being neglected. Nevertheless, the call on your life has never gone away, regardless of what was spoken or lost there. Not only were you born into your family, but you were also sent to be the one who intercedes, the one who reveals, and the one who bridges the gap. Rather of remaining silent, you face lies, put an end to self-sabotage, and overcome fear. You are not here to rewrite history. Rather, you are here to redeem it. You are not here to stifle your own light. Rather, you are here to encourage others. That anguish you experience when things do not match is purpose. That fire in your belly when you hear truth is your mission remembering itself. That loneliness you sometimes bear is the mark of being selected. All of these aspects are manifestations of your purpose. In other words, you were not designed to take a road that already existed. Rather, you were designed to construct a way. If you have ever pondered the reasons behind your uniqueness, the reasons behind your intense feelings, and the reasons why you are unable to simply go along with the flow, keep in mind that your family line begged for a change, and God answered their prayers by sending you. Receiving the honor of being selected to restore the lineage is not a title. Rather, it is a holy calling, and the journey that lies ahead is not for those who are easily discouraged. The dark regions, the things that others disregarded, the things that others buried, the things that others numbed, and the things that others accepted were all chosen for you to enter. It is not about mending broken individuals. Rather, it is about releasing ourselves from the chains of our spirituality. When you entered a family line that was filled with silent suffering, you made a proclamation that said, "No more. It ends here." Before you could become the healer, you had to confront wounds that you had not caused. These wounds included feelings of resentment, neglect, abandonment, addiction, and shame that were handed down from generation to generation. Betrayals that occurred before you were born left an emotional legacy on you, and you absorbed patterns that were never uttered but lived in every gesture, expectation, and contact that provoked tension. You had a difficult time comprehending the reasons behind your heavy feelings, the reasons why relationships were draining you, and the reasons why your emotions appeared to be not your own. Echoes of pain that had not been handled were present, with a sword of truth and a heart that was large enough to feel everything, yet strong enough to let go of it. You stood at the junction of the past and the future, Healing at the soul level is a process that is unfiltered and unrelenting. It involves grieving when no one understands, establishing boundaries that disrupt the familiar, choosing alone in order to hear God, and recognizing the version of yourself that continued to show up even while experiencing brokenness. When you confront your scars, you run the risk of losing contact with people who are devoted to illusions, losing the acceptance of family members who do not comprehend, being ridiculed, mocked, misunderstood, and even being identified as the issue. Subtle and generational, dangerous spirits conceal themselves beneath religion, pride, and quiet. They are codependent, disguised as loyalty. They are shame disguised as humility, and they are control disguised as love. You bring those spirits to light, speak words that break paralysis, and disturb cycles that bring about the theft of destinies. Your failures served as training, and your emotional conflicts helped you hone your skills. It is for your mother, who never took a break, your father, who did not have any tools, your ancestors, who made it through rather than flourishing, and your future lineage that deserves to be at peace, that you heal. You are the one who puts an end to curses, frees lineages, and is a walking prayer. While it is true that scars run deep, the healing that you carry may go even deeper. The adversary was aware of your uniqueness from the moment you arrived. This is the reason why the struggle began so early. It was characterized by rejection, perplexity, and ongoing internal conflict. Nevertheless, each conflict gave birth to something holy. Before you had the ability to communicate with others, you had an inner knowing that included the ability to sense the truth behind masks, to hear what was not stated, to experience pain that was not your own, and to know things without proof. That was a tremendously sensitive act. It was discernment that was sharpening itself through overthinking. Prophetic gift was built on a foundation of emotional vulnerability. The Spirit was taught in the classroom of solitude. It is not enough to simply pray. You also intercede. One does not merely see, rather, one perceives. Hearing is not enough. You also have to decipher. Messages, impulses, and strategies for stillness are all contained within dreams. These protracted and solitary conflicts served as activations. It is not through comfort that gifts come to life. Rather, they come to life via adversity, becoming more acute through heartache, betrayal, solitude, and battle. Presents are not for display. Rather, they are for combat, healing, and serving a purpose. The vision to lead comes from God. You were sent into a bloodline that was spiritually dry, with live water, into confusion with heavenly clarity, and into quiet with a voice that broke chains. Being sensitive is a superpower, a compass for intuition, and a safeguard for discernment. When one embraces their spiritual identity, their ability grows, and along with that growth comes responsibility. You are not unfit. Rather, your gifts required space, and some people had to go, and some situations had to fall apart. This was not because you were unworthy. Chosen ones are misunderstood because their skills do not conform to the normal world. They carry weight in realms that cannot be seen. They disrupt atmospheres. They love with divine compassion, and they correct with heavenly fearlessness. Due to the fact that your gifts are for every soul that you are tasked with healing, every generational curse that you are tasked with breaking, and every spiritual system that you are called to restore, you were concealed, set apart, and preserved. Be sure not to dim your light, minimize your gifts, or have doubts about your visions. You are a spiritual warrior who is armed with the authority of heaven and has been entrusted with generational keys. You are anointed, prepared, and born for this mission. You are the solution, the awakening, and the interruption from the divine order. Not only did they exclude you, but they also left you wondering if you felt like you belonged there. They did not merely mock your aspirations. Rather, they made an effort to eradicate the seed before it could firmly establish itself. They did not only call you an excessive amount, rather, they rejected the very aspects of you that heaven had chosen for a specific purpose. You are too quiet when you are observing, too emotional when you are feeling the truth, too profound when you are tapping spirit, and too remote when you are learning to hear God over the cacophony. The experience of being rejected was both terrible and sacred. It was like having everything that could taint your calling surgically removed. It eliminated the need for superficial approbation and made place for a greater anointing that could not be contained in an enclosed space. Those who are chosen are rarely accepted in the communities from which they originate. Just as Jesus was not honored in his birthplace, you were never intended to be celebrated by those who witnessed your development through the lens of spirituality that they were unable to comprehend. On a spiritual level, rejection was about the things that you carried with you. Because of your presence, they were reminded of what they had repressed. Your light caused them to be disturbed, and your truth caused them to shake their lies. For the purpose of safeguarding your oil, God utilized every rejection, betrayal, and exile, removing counterfeit and preparing authentic. In the same way that Joseph was allowed to experience agony because it was necessary for his ascent, pit, slavery, accusation, and jail were all forgotten by men, but remembered by God. You will be called out of the shadows by God at the appropriate moment to sit in a position where nations, including those who have betrayed you, will depend on you. You're here for a reason. Hit subscribe now and step into your destiny. Big things are coming. There is no tragedy in your story. Rather, it is a perfect setup. God used to make you out of everything that was intended to break you. Slamming doors turned passageways into rooms that other people are unable to enter. You do not need to demonstrate your worth. Your purpose will speak for itself. You will produce fruit that cannot be refuted. Elevation is God's response to being rejected. Allow them to forgive you, since it is impossible to hold on to divine destiny while clinging to earthly hurts. Your restrictions were outgrown, you were polished by fire, you were purified by sorrow, and grace was the one who positioned you. A cornerstone was created out of the stone that they rejected. You have never been merely an outcast. Rather, you have always been a genius in disguise, not deserted, rather segregated. Remedy for them, not their affliction. It is not the wound, but rather the healing balm. When we are rejected, God creates the most magnificent vessels. For a very long time before you arrived, voices cried out for salvation in places where hope was just about to be lost, such as cotton fields, kitchens, corners, and jails. Grandmothers prayed under the stars at midnight, dads toiled till their hands bled, ladies suffered from unreported violence, and males shed tears behind closed doors. As a result of their words, wind, tears, and grief were transformed into prophetic seeds. Your presence is the harvest. It was a divine response, an echo of their hope, the embodiment of a yearning that was too profound for words, and the answer to 1,000 whispered prayers that said, "Please God." You were called upon. This is the reason why the weight that you carry feels different, why your eyes see what others cannot see, why your heart feels what others ignore, and why your journey is full of challenges and victories that defy logic. You are not the only person in your life. You were born with generations of people inside of you. You walk with wisdom embedded in your soul and carry stories that have not been completed. You were sent with the key because your ancestors did not have the words to say gifts, the space to grieve, or the knowledge to shatter chains. When they were unable to speak, you speak up. You fight battles that they feared, and you heal wounds that were never acknowledged. New blood, divine interruption, and generational shift are all things that you are. Heaven is aware of who you are. You are anointed, equipped, and have the power. Refrain from shrinking, second-guessing, putting gifts on hold, or giving in to questioning. It is too expensive to keep the oil on your life. Their prayers have been heard. They have received spiritual atonement. Liberation has been manifested, and you are the miracle. With each stride of obedience, curses are broken, wounds are healed, balance is restored, and names of those who have never seen freedom but believed are honored. Your prosperity should be their harvest, and your tranquility should be their answer. Let your life be the melody that they never sang out loud. You are more than just a name. You are the divine rewriting of the lion, the one that heaven sent when earth cried out for what it needed. Not only are angels happy that you were born, but they are also happy that you have reminded them of who you are. The purpose of this trip is not simply to remove generational curses. Rather, it is to establish generational blessings and to craft a new story from destroyed ruins. You are the master builder of restoration and the wrecking ball to dysfunction. You are laying sacred stones for foundations that will survive you. Work left behind has an enduring impact and is a divine architecture. You have never been here for the only purpose of surviving. Rather, you have been invited to transform, heal what was concealed, shine light where darkness reigned, speak life where quiet reigned, bless where bitterness reigned, and love fearlessly where fear created barriers. You are the one who plants gardens, planting the seeds of completeness, peace, truth, and light into a bloodline that is yearning for relief. It is not enough for God to eliminate what is harmful. He also brings back to life what is sacred. The emotional code is rewritten, and numbness is no longer misunderstood as strength. Stillness is no longer considered to be a sign of dignity, and suppression is no longer a means of survival. The new legacy places a high importance on the sanctity of feelings, talks rather than curses, love expressed verbally, and healing as a way of life. It is not necessary for pain to be passed down. You have the ability to put an end to trauma. You have endured invisible battles, such as fasting, praying, crying, and wrestling storms that have attacked your mind, body, and soul. But you continue to stand steady and walk in power for others who will follow you. You do not only break chains, rather, you are the one who replaces chains. Lies were replaced with the truth. Shame was replaced with honor. And trauma was replaced with testimony. Your affirmation causes the bloodline to ascend. The chains of the past snap, and the residue of pain is washed away by grace. The end of addiction, the rewriting of neglect, the breaking of silence, and the triumph of courage are all things that you represent as a holy bridge between what was and what will be. God leaves behind a stunning legacy of love, liberty, healing, faith, and favor in its place. You are the one who is reintroducing heaven to the household by rededicating the bloodline to the divine mission. Sacred, priestly, and kingdom labor is being done here. You are a fresh blueprint, a living map of destiny that has been rebuilt in DNA, and a demonstration of mercy that claims it comes to an end here. Something greater begins now. Take a big step. A legacy is found in hearts that are free, truths that are spoken, wholeness that is embodied, and joy that is returned to the family name. There are ancient ruins that you fix, walls that are damaged, and generations that have been abandoned. In addition to being a duty, restoration is also an inheritance, and more recently, a legacy. The one who has been chosen, you were never created by coincidence. Rather, you were dispatched from invisible worlds to respond to the scream of your ancestors.